Good morning, good afternoon to whenever you're listening to this. I have the pleasure of interviewing the myth, the man, the legend, Chris Enget. I've actually been able to observe him from afar. Unfortunately, our paths haven't been intertwined enough. And this is probably the first time I get a chance to sit down with this guy. He is a blessing to a lot of veterans out there, a lot for males. He's dropped some nuggets of knowledge along the way that I don't think that he realized that I planted some seeds. Where he talked about having a group of guys here in Billings, Montana, people that he can rely on, he can trust, that he can love. And now I have the opportunity to sit with him and interview him for some time. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you asking me to do this and getting a chance to share my story with you and hopefully help some others along the way.
Let's put it like this: your story is very powerful. You're a Purple Heart recipient. You're an Army veteran. You're more than just being a vet in my eyes. And the way that you have actually talked about brotherhood, the way that you have actually pushed for other people to be part of a mission, seeing how you helped with Dawn and also encouraging her, the way that you've been able to be instrumental working with the Concerned Veterans of America and helping hold the VA to the firestone of what their mission and what their goals are.
Right. Yeah. It's been a long road, that's for sure. But there's a lot that I've learned along the way. There's a lot that I struggled through. And like you said, that group of guys, we still talk on the phone. We're spread all across the country now. We got some in Washington, some in South Carolina, some still here, some down in Texas, and I'm getting ready to move to Texas. So we're all over the country, but we still have that brotherhood. We still text each other. We still talk on the phone. And it's not a brotherhood that was born in the military, but it's born out of the military. We've got guys from different branches, different time frames, different periods, and we all just connect and click together. And it's not the exact same from when I was in, that's the brotherhood. That's that community that we need to build in our lives in order to actually succeed.
Dude, I fully agree. And you said something before we jumped on the recording, which was didn't seem as bad while we went through it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we separated, that's when the shit started happening.
Right.
I think about my experience when I left my first group of guys that I went to Iraq with and I went to a different unit. I didn't feel safe with those people.
Right.
It's just like, these are guys that I know what the farts smell like, what the sweat smells like.
Right.
We shit, we ate, we pissed together. Do you remember the drill? I'm up, you see me, I'm down? Yeah. When we were actually doing that overseas, you knew what to expect.
Right. You knew exactly what they were going to do. You knew that they had your back. And then you get to a new group of guys and you have to rebuild that trust over again. It definitely does take time.
It takes time, and it also takes vulnerability. Like, the reason I wanted to start this podcast about normalizing men's mental health is not just for vets, but it's actually for men. Like, we start off as boys, we start off emulating our parents, we start off as being like curious creatures. Would you mind telling me a little bit about your childhood and like what actually led you up to becoming a soldier?
Yeah, so I grew up in eastern Montana. There's a small town, Rosebud. It's right outside of Miles City. 5 kids in my class, including me. And my mom married my stepdad, and he was a very, very abusive man. I spent a lot of my childhood never believing that I was going to be enough, never believing I could succeed. And so when it came time to join the military, I turned 17 years old. I just got my ASVAB score. I was pretty much already set in my head. The first recruiter that calls me is the one who gets me. And it wasn't I got I think an 88 on my ASVAB. It wasn't 2 weeks after the ASVAB scores came out, I had a recruiter on the phone, and I'm like, sign me up. And it was my ticket out. out. And so we grew up very poor, so I didn't have the resources to, say, hey, I'm going to go to college in a different state, or I'm going to go do these things. So I just didn't have those resources. So the military became my escape from that situation. And so I really didn't have like friend group or anything like that I was really leaving. We were a small community, but drugs are rampant in those the smaller Montana communities. And then, you join the military and they go to basic training. And I remember one time sitting at basic training, we had just got in trouble. We're probably 3.5, 4 hours into a smoke session. And the drill sergeant has us all stand at the position of attention again. And I remember just thinking to myself, this isn't that bad. At least nobody's beating me. And the drill sergeant came around the pillar and he saw me smiling, and man, that got changed really quickly. I got a chair kicked in. I got thrown up against a wall because he thought I was laughing at him.
Yeah.
But I realized, like, this isn't any worse than I had it before. But I have a place to sleep. I have food. I have a paycheck. I have more freedoms now than I ever had growing up. And so you just are, I really looked at it as like, this is something that I could build myself into. And so I thought I was on the fast track to, 30 years Sergeant Major. And I hit E6 within 10 years, and I was excited to just keep going. And so I really enjoyed the earlier parts of being in the military. That's when you're learning about it all. You're training. You're gung ho. You're just go. And I think it really helped me like define what I needed for my life. And I was able to take it that way. I don't think a lot of people do. And I think when you look at especially PTSD, when you're a kid, you're in high school, your school, your parents, they all define and show you what your path is. When you join the military, and the military's got a path for you. And then you get out of the military, you don't have a path. You've never had to build it for yourself.
Correct. So the question I have is, like, knowing about your stepfather and a little bit more hands-on than probably you should have been.
Right.
How was that where you were trusting other men in your life when you actually joined, like, being a soldier? Because I know with my father, the way that he was up when I was a kid, it caused an impact to the way that I reacted towards male leadership.
Right. I think what it set for me was I'm going to be the best. Like I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to be the best. And so then I wouldn't have anyone looking down on me and saying, well, Private Enget, you suck at this. Redo it. Do it again. I can't remember a single time that I was a first time no-go on anything I ever did in the military. And so that really did give me a chance to trust anybody. It was just me saying, no, I'm going to. And then there was a couple, different NCOs that were there that kind of like took me under their wing as well and like helped to guide and show me a path to make it more of a career, not just, hey, you're in the Army, you're a soldier. And so it was definitely difficult at first to be like, yeah, I don't think you got my best interest in mind. You're doing this because it's going to set me to the side and you can get what you want. But over time, and I think that's really what it comes down to, is time to build that trust. And as you start to work with them, and as you start to, you literally get in the foxhole with them and you don't have a choice but to trust them. Then you start realizing, wait a minute, these guys actually do have my back. These guys actually do care for me and want me to succeed just as much as they want to. And that's not, I'd never found that anywhere else outside of the military up until that point. It's there all over the place now, but you have to find it. You have to go out, actively search for it. But it took a lot of time to really start to trust the guys that I was with.
It's like, it's hard to be able to say, they're shooting at me, I need to run. Right. It's more of, I have to worry about everybody else. Right. And then they worry about me. Right. There's a time that you have to do a job, you have to do the mission, where then at other times it's like, these people do have my back. Even though they mess with me left, right, and center. Absolutely. Yeah, if they're not messing with you, you're not part of it. Right. It's so awkward, but so real. It's like they're your brothers. But then you start realizing that the reason that they invest so much time into you is because their interests are getting met. They care about you as like a family member. They want to see you succeed. By you succeeding, they also succeed. Right. And on top of it, like, I'll tell you my NCOs, like, I remember Staff Sergeant himself, amazing human. He was a specimen of a man. He was actually probably the only man I was actually afraid of. And he used to walk around like he had a limp, but he put a knife in his hand. He was quick as fuck. Wow. I was like, dude, you're just giving me a whole fake screen about you. But when I say that is that he pinned me on corporal in a blown up house in Fallujah. And to me, having his blessing meant the world to me. Like, I looked up to him. He was a role model. And he was the person that made me want to be the best version of myself. Right. Like, do you have anybody that you inspired to be like, or actually made you want to become that best version of Chris?
Yeah, that would definitely be Staff Sergeant Lindau. He was one of the first NCOs when I got to the unit that was there. And And I watched that man literally give the shirt off his back to help somebody, drop everything on a moment's notice to drive 200 miles to help somebody or fix a situation. And again, kind of even going back to, everybody else comes first and then I'll come last. And he didn't do it in a way that was detrimental to himself. Because if he couldn't do it and it was going to be detrimental, he would find somebody that could do it. And that he was just always constantly there to help. And so Staff Sergeant Lindau definitely was the one that I looked up to the most. And then he'd already been to Iraq. He knew the ropes about deployments. I had never deployed. I didn't know what we were getting into. But just watching this, he operated and how he lived his life really spoke to me that there is so much more than just putting the uniform on and carrying a gun. There's a whole lot more to it. And a lot of that, which is frustrating to me now, is that I can look back on it now and see that kind of thing. I never could see it in the moment. I never saw it while we were there. He was there. He was doing those things. I went on some of those drives with him, and to not be able to really take that to heart and say, this is what I want to do with my life too. Now I can look back and go, yeah, that's the right way to operate. It was just incredible to me that is how he operated all the time. And he would give you a ration of shit no matter what. But he was just an incredible person.
Mark, I think his name was Mark Steele. I'm trying to think of it. If I remember correctly, it was him. So you remember the pyro that you put the canisters, you have to the little primer kit? One of the pyros fell apart, dropped down. We were on base, we were at TQ. If I remember correctly, it was Steele. He put the cap on the wrong bottom and sent it home. Chief One Officer Rocliffe comes over, looks at him, knows exactly who it is. He grabs Staff Sergeant. And from what the story I heard was paying the paperwork. It was just it was an ND. You can get in a lot of trouble for NDs.
Yeah.
So the guy got smoked all night. But you don't really always see that type of leadership where it's like, hey, you screw up once, you're going to get burned.
Right.
Where it's more of you're a dude. Stressed out your mind. You don't have the times to be able to relax. A lot of the shit is just continue piling on.
Right.
And you don't have that ability just to always decompress because you don't know if more is going to come on when you're on base. You don't know, every day we're going outside the wire. We're always doing a mission. We're always going to be pushing. And then at the same time, it's we can't let my fucking hair down.
Right.
And that's when it takes leaders to actually come up and say, you know what, I got you back.
Right.
You might not like me right now.
Right.
But you'd rather not like me today than actually you not being here tomorrow.
Right. 100%.
So I know you also talked about your living day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to jump into that right now or you want to wait a little bit, but you talked about your RPG attack, which messed with you.
Right.
There was a lot of other aspects of your life, but I know we talked about PTSD, post-traumatic stress growth, where it's not just about PTSD.
Right.
So actually, before we get into that, tell me about your transition out of the service.
That was brutal. I came home, was pretty isolated and started to isolate myself. And I think I've said it for a long time and I'll keep saying it forever. The culmination of isolation is death. And you'll see somebody start to emotionally, mentally die because they don't have those relationships because they're isolating themselves. And eventually it can lead to physical death. I mean, there's a reason isolation is a punishment in the prison systems, right? And so I really started to isolate myself. I was in and out of the VA, in and out of surgeries, taking more and more prescriptions, more and more drugs. And then I lived in my basement for years. The only time I came out was really the 2:00 in the morning for a Walmart run or when I went to a doctor's appointment. And so it got to the point where it was pretty brutal. And I struggled to navigate that by myself. And my ex-wife was working, taking care of the kids, trying to do all these things. Couldn't be that support that I needed either. It led me down the path where suicide became an option. And so I attempted suicide the first time. And I really had no idea what I could do any differently. And I just got to the point where I don't want to continue to be a burden for my at that time, wife and kids, that this just isn't fair to them. This isn't what they signed on for. And I'm not even 30 years old at this point. So is this what I have to look forward to for the next, 40, 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
And not just for me, for them. Is this what they have to look forward to for the next 30 or 40 years? And so I ended up going to bed one night and I swallowed a whole bottle of Percocet, just knowing that I wasn't going to wake up the next morning. And I learned how to do drywall after that because I did wake up and I was very angry. But it started this forward momentum. It wasn't the last time I committed suicide, but it did start this forward momentum that something's not working right. And I went to the VA to say that I need to talk to somebody. I need a therapist, I need a counselor, I need somebody that can help me with this. And then I was told I couldn't get an appointment for 6 months. I was just very frank with them. Like, if I have to wait 6 months, I'm not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, like, I'd already stepped over the ledge. I'm already falling. So it's not me, getting close to the ledge, maybe testing the waters. I've already jumped over the ledge. And because of that, they were able to get me in a whole lot sooner. It was more of a crisis intervention thing. But I saw that therapist for a little bit, and then they left, and I got to another one. And then you start the process over again. I saw that one for a while, and they left, and I start the process over again. There's never any continuity within that journey of healing from that PTSD. And so it was about, I think it was probably 18 months of hopping to new providers, trying to get that figured out. Multiple anti-anxiety meds, multiple antidepressants, anti-nightmare medication. And then you're starting to take medication to cover the side effects of these medications. Yep. And it was just this never-ending lap. And again, like I said, I just lived in my basement and played video games and World of Warcraft and just trying to numb as much as I possibly could. And then I started drinking. So now I'm drinking on top of all these medications and on top of these opiates. Yep. I call it the toilet bowl of life. You just start spiraling. And if you don't have somebody or something that can be there to help stop it, that can intervene in it, and I know, like, interventions are kind of this thing that everybody says is awkward. We don't want to do. We don't want to predict. I could push somebody further down. Yeah. I'm not meaning an intervention type of sitting around the table and saying, okay, we know you have a problem. We're here to help. Like, literally sitting down one-on-one with somebody and saying, hey, I care for you. I love you. What can I do to help?
Obviously, you're saying, what can I do to help? What emotions were you feeling? Like, if you were able to go back in time and say, when you got to that point, hey, I want to actually swallow those pills, what kind of emotions were you feeling?
There was a lot of sadness. I didn't want to grieve. Like, I didn't think grieving was something that you would do in this kind of a scenario. Gotcha. But I had to grieve the life that I wasn't going to have. I had to grieve the life I thought I was going to have. And then grieve over the fact that this is what my life is going to be like. But I wouldn't give myself the opportunity to actually grieve. So there's a lot of sadness. There's bitterness. There's a lot of those dark emotions. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the majority of it. And then men, we tend to bring those emotions out in anger. Mm-hmm. And so you don't see it as me sitting on the side of the bed crying. You see me punching a hole in the wall and having to learn how to do drywall, which again is not helpful for a wife and kids either. Then there's secondary PTSD that comes from that they have to deal with as well. And but yeah, anger, sadness, bitterness were probably the most emotions that I had. I was a Christian when I deployed. And I remember being so angry at God that 6 days after I got to country, I got hit by an RPG. Like, why am I? If I'm your child, why would you let this happen to me? And so I refused to even go to church. I wouldn't talk to anyone that was Christian. I didn't want anything to do with that, because if that's what my God's going to do, then and so that bitterness just bled into everything, every part of my life.
The other question I got: do you know how to even use that?
No, not at all.
Like, tell me a little bit about your experience when you started therapy.
Some of it was sitting on the couch, sharing that this is I will say, when I first started, I almost wanted to sugarcoat it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not as bad as I think it really is. And so, like, I don't want you to look at me and go, oh man, this guy's a nutcase. So you try to just well, there's maybe this, or I'm kind of struggling a little with this. So you're not being truly honest and open with the therapist, who is there to try to really help you. So there was a lot of trying to hold that stuff back.
What were you fearful if you actually divulged it?
I think it was more I wasn't like a lot of vets start getting scared that they're going to lose their guns, or they're going to lose this, or the VA is going to say, hey, you can't take care of yourself, so we need to put somebody in place that they can take care of you. A lot of vets don't want to lose that level of control over their life, and so they're scared of that. I wasn't ever scared of that. I was scared that people would look at me and go, you're not good enough. See, I knew you'd fail. And here I am failing. My stepdad's voice right back in my ear. You're always going to be a failure. You're never going to succeed. That's why you're here, sitting on this couch, because you can't do it. It was not a fun time, that is for sure.
Because, like, I know when I actually finally asked for help, I thought the white coats were going to come.
Right.
Like, my first experience with seeing a therapist, when I was in the Marine Corps, after my first tour in Iraq, they're like, yo, you got PTSD. Okay, is this like the flu? And you go there and you're like, do I really want to tell them what's going on?
Right.
Because that means that I'm going to get separated.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to do my job. It's so weird to say, but it's like at the same time, you just keep thinking about who am I leaving behind? If I take care of myself, who else is not going to be taken care of? Right. That's the reason I was asking that, because a lot of times we don't actually say like, hey, these are the emotions. These are the things that I've been ambivalent about. This is what I've been cautious about, because like if I ask for help, cool. But if you don't help me, fuck you then. Burn that bridge. We're going to friggin' napalm this shit. So, obviously, you started learning how to fix drywall. Going back to what you said.
I'm pretty decent at it now. I don't want to do it for a living, but I'm pretty decent at drywall.
So when you started to, obviously, it doesn't sound like you're upset with your ex-wife. If anything, it sounds like you have a lot of love in your ex-wife for her.
Well, just knowing what the situation, like our divorce was not a very civil divorce. But I also know the part that I played in.
Yeah.
I couldn't be a husband. I couldn't be the man that she had married. Like I get that. It doesn't change anything that she had done. Like I'm willing to just always take responsibility for what I've done or what I'm doing, because you have to take that step. And again, like this journey that you're on, like trying to bring light to men's mental health and normalize it. If we as men can't be real with ourselves. Yeah. There's no place for you to go from there. And then if you don't know where you're going, every path is going to get you there.
Every path is going to get you right back to the telephone.
Wherever you want to go, you've got to be real and authentic. And if you put this high and lofty goal for your life, this is what I want to be, then you've got to be real with where you are right now so you can actually get there. And so that's really what that stems from. It's just, I know where I was. My kids and I joke about there was bad dad and now we have good dad. And it's actually been kind of awesome because there's been times where, the stress and anxiety stuff starts to climb up and my daughter can come to me and go, Dad's coming out. And I can be like, oh, okay, we're going to turn everything off. We're going to go watch a movie. We're going to go do something just to bring that back down. And I'll call my boss, and whether I'm with Concerned Veterans for America or not at the time, I'm going to call my boss. I'm like, hey, I got to take the rest of the day. You can like it or not like it, but I'm going to. Because I got to be that right dad for my kids, and being that bad dad isn't going to do it.
How does it feel to know that you have built that relationship where your daughter can say, Dad, bad dad's coming?
It's kind of awe-inspiring to me that that's even possible. Looking at the dad that I had, there's no way I could have ever gone to him and said he was messing something up. Not a single chance that. But to know that she is capable of that she has that ability to go like, I don't like this. And she may be doing it just from her own perspective that she doesn't like this. But then I get to take that and go, okay, you're right. That's not the person that I want to be. And then from that, I get to reassess, okay, this is where I'm at again. What do I need to do to move forward from this? And that's where therapy really comes into play. Because therapy, in my opinion now, especially for me, it was giving me tools that I could put in my toolbox for whatever comes my way.
Yeah.
And so when you have, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, the goal, like you'll always have PTS. You will always have post-traumatic stress. It never goes away. There's never been anything that has shown that it goes away. But through therapy and building that toolbox, you can take the D out.
Yeah.
So it no longer disorders your life. It's there and it can just be there. and then you can come right back down from it because you have those tools and you've practiced with them, just like we do in the military. You go out there with your weapon and you do rifle training and you do mount training, you do all these drills, you do them again and again and again. Like you even talked about the, I'm up, they see me, I'm down.
Yeah.
You practice that until your knees are
Yeah.
completely bruised. But why do you practice that? So when you're getting shot at, it just is immediately there. That muscle memory happens. It's not any different with the tools that we get in therapy. If you don't practice them, they're useless tools.
So I'm going to ask a question because I know when I deal with this stuff, like if I get anxious when I'm driving past a pothole or if I have something hanging from the wires, I know I go to myself and I say, you know what? Thank you, Will, for taking care of me. And I actually acknowledge it.
Right.
Just curious about your perspective. Like, say if you have one of those night terrors again, what do you do? Like, do you talk to yourself? Do you actually, how do you deal?
So when you get into that side of your brain that is all emotion based, and it cannot think logically, and especially when you get into that traumatic side, your brain cannot think logically. So you're only going to make emotion based decisions. You're only going to react emotionally. And so one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I remember, is right after my therapist gave me this toolbox. Now this tool I put in my toolbox. I was driving down 32nd on Monad, right next to Monad, and there's some of those apartment complexes there, and they were re-roofing them. And my windows were down, and all of a sudden, these nail guns started going off. And I immediately was back in. I'm getting shot at. This is not okay. And I remember the tool that I was told to do is to write it down. So I immediately pulled into a parking lot, grabbed my little notebook that I keep in my center console, grabbed my pen, and started writing out. I was driving down 32nd Street, right by the Monad intersection. Roofers are re-roofing, and all of a sudden, because I'm writing this out and thinking logically about the scenario, my brain starts going, well, wait a minute, I'm not in Afghanistan. I'm here in Billings, Montana. Nobody's shooting at me. I'm safe. I'm not in any danger. And then I can take 10, 15 breaths and then drive away. But I think that's the biggest thing is just like you said, acknowledging it. Like it's real, it's there. Those loud noises are always going to get to me. Like almost 4th of July here, so we're hearing pops all over the place. Those noises get to me, and I don't really have to use my notebook anymore because I can wake up and then just do that process right then and there without pulling up the notebook. A large part of me that still wants to just react, but because I have the tool and I've utilized it and I've trained to use it, now it just comes more naturally.
So repetitions, stress, being able to know that you can do it. You survived it once, you can survive it again. It's also beauty, man. It's like we don't think about how our normal habits are what creates a real reality. I heard this quote, and I'm going to butcher it right now. People want healing until they realize it becomes habits. Like you tell somebody, hey, what would you do if I took away all your depression or your anxiety? Oh, I don't know.
Right.
But they want to go back to the old behaviors. And I think about how a lot of times when we're looking at our own healing, our own journeys, are we actually going to be willing to be vulnerable? And when we say that this is actually hard right now, are we going to be willing to actually say, you know what, this might sound so stupid, but I'm going to sit there and write. And then while we're actually hearing doof, 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 all of a sudden it's like, oh, this pen actually is a pen. I'm not breathing in hot air. I'm not actually having a dry nose right now. I'm in a car that's comfortable. It's not fucking hard as shit.
Right.
And
or loud.
loud. I don't have a bucket on my head.
Right.
I'm actually here.
Yeah. It's a way to kind of ground yourself back in reality. And again, it goes just to that emotional side of our brain and those memories. Our brain is trying to protect us. And I get how it works. And sometimes I think it's stupid and like, why were we created this way? But, it is trying to protect us. So I really like what you're like. Thanks, Will. Thank you for looking out for me. Like, that's brilliant to be able to look at it from a different perspective. And, we brought up my Alive Day here the other day that I look at it as my Alive Day. It's not the day that I was hit by an RPG. It's not the day that I almost died. It's not, and it wasn't even life-threatening injuries that I had, but your subconscious brain is saying, but that was a rocket that landed 5 feet from you. Being able to rewrite that in your brain to say, no, this is my Alive Day. This is the day that I got to live again. And to own that and to actually live. That's what the day's there to celebrate.
So April 8th is a day that I changed in my mind. It's the day I lost one of my friends. And it was actually the day, April 8th, 2006, was the day that kind of rewritten some code in my life. And it took a while because it would start up in like February-ish, sometimes in January. All of a sudden it would bleed over until July. And you had this one day, and it was just like the anticipation leading up to it. And your body actually started to feel it. So what I did for that day with the live day, kind of similar, which is now I put something outside my comfort zone. I'm like, I'm going to go try something, and now I'm going to suck at it.
Right.
I'm going to go to a folk festival, or I'm going to go to a ballet, or I'm going to go do something that I've never done before.
Right.
And I started rewriting the same code because it was like, instead of mourning a friend that I lost, I'm living for a friend that no longer can live. Because when you talked about surviving and then you went into drinking, like WoW is a great game. I used to play WoW. So it's extremely addicting. But when you start realizing that you're waking up and you're just existing and you're trying to survive one more day, soon it becomes one more hour.
Right.
And then, why am I even doing it? I'm causing so much issues. I'm causing so much stress. And then you start rewriting it. It's like, why didn't I do it sooner? I should have done it sooner. Then it's like, who am I now? Where's my identity? And it's like that ambivalence phase of, it's kind of scary too.
Right.
Because if I say, you know what, Chris, no more PTSD, and you're going to like, you're always going to be a combat vet, but do you always identify yourself as a combat vet? Do you identify yourself as a father, as a husband? So these are some of the things I think about because the ambivalence, or the scared is not the right word, but the being skeptical of how life can be if we allow ourselves to be able to build up and choose to go that way.
And I think that's where, like, a lot when you've got those tools in your toolbox and you're starting to use them and you see your life starting to progress. Like, I can look at that. Like, if you asked me that question today, like, what would my life be like? I would be ecstatic that the journey that I'm on now would have less of these roadblocks because I can just go do these things. Like, yes, let's make that happen. Now, obviously, like, it doesn't work even in a linear fashion. You don't start here and then all of a sudden you're here. You get almost there, and then all of a sudden you're all the way back here, and you're up and you're down, you're back and forth. But I think that's really where it comes down to for me. And if I asked you, like, what was easier, throwing on your kit in Iraq or trying to navigate and figure out normal civilian life?
Yeah, I'll tell you honestly, Lindsay, my ex-wife, amazing human. I'd rather actually get shot at than actually argue with her.
Right.
It just made so much sense because I can control the outcome.
Right.
Like, somebody yelling at me, I'm like, can't hit her, can't do anything.
Right.
You just don't know what to do. You're frazzled. So yes, when you say which one's easier, just put me in war any day.
The wife that I have now wasn't there through all of that, but I've had that conversation with her before. That it's just so much easier because you've trained for it, you practice for it, you got the regulations, you know what the rules of engagement are, you know all of those things. You're on this path, and all of a sudden you get ambushed. You know exactly what you're going to do without having to think about it. But I think the big thing is that we trained for that. We trained and trained and trained for it, and that becomes that muscle memory. That's why it's so easy. When you first joined the military, you didn't know what to do if somebody ambushed you. And I remember in those mountain trainings, and you walk into the room and there's somebody with a paintball gun shooting at you, like you almost like freeze, like, what? We don't do in combat because we trained and we practiced and we know what the scenario is going to be like. But we don't do that for civilian life. We don't do that for our relationships and our families and everything that we have going on now. That's where therapy for me comes into play. That's where we train it. You get your tool, you get your resource, and then go train it. Keep doing it again and again. And sometimes you get farther down that path where it's like, and when I'm actually even looking at this year, I don't like fireworks. I don't like going to fireworks shows. But I've done so much work in this area that I need to almost push myself further to keep working these tools that I want to go to a fireworks show to use my tools to keep bringing that down.
Can I make a suggestion if you do it?
Yeah.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah.
I did that about 2 years ago over at Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking just pretty much went into a zone. I honestly just started like kind of tripping out because I'm like just staring up at the fireworks and I just kept rubbing my feet on the grass. I'm just throwing it out there too.
For sure. But I think that's what we need to be willing to do is we need to train it. But you never trained mount training by yourself. You never went to range days by yourself. You never did all that stuff by yourself.
You talk about your wife. Like, I know you have you love your wife. You're moving back to be able to spend full time with your wife. You said, we don't train. Like, I think about, so not trying to throw the VA as a bone right here. It's called like strength at home and it's learning how to set boundaries with people. And what I think when we set ourselves up for failure with is that we go to couples counseling when shit's already wrong. Instead of actually saying, let's go to couples counseling, why? Why are we going to spend money? Well, let's put it like this. So we don't dig this hole, we don't create these behaviors, and then we're actually able to communicate each other at a 2 instead of a 7. And then I'm not punching walls because I don't know how to actually communicate. Like, how do we actually help? I think a lot of times when it comes to relationships, we're not actually saying, hey, dude, I'm hurting. I was interviewing Eddie yesterday, and when I was telling Eddie, I was like, dude, I made some friends out here. I made some real friends.
Right.
And I talked to Rob, and my buddy Dan. I said, I'm thinking about buying a firearm. I even talked to my neighbors about this too. I said, I might have to ask you to hold on to it. Because if I go to a dark place, because I'm not actually saying, oh, I'm doing all these good things.
Right.
Oh, it doesn't mean that I don't know how that place is. It's that pattern's already been created.
Right.
But I've actually built up a trust with people where I can say, dude, if I'm hurting, can you hold on to this? Oh, I got you, bud. I got you. Instead of actually like weary about showing weakness.
Right.
And this goes to what I believe of creating these relationships. Talking about the hard stuff while things are going good.
Right.
Instead of saying, yo, Chris, fucking all the way up at Woodside, can you come on over? Dude, I'm like half a bottle in. I just down some shit and I'm just looking at this barrel. Instead of being like, yo, Chris, I've been having a fucking shitty week.
I think that's incredibly important to, again, going back to the training, like learning how to communicate, learning what the emotions are. Because it's not just anger. Most of men's anger, emotions come out as anger, but anger is always a secondary emotion. There's always something else that's there, and then anger is the result of that. And so learning what that is, and that's actually, when you look at writing it down right after the trauma or the incident is happening, I'm driving down the road, nail guns go off, and I start writing that down. You start to learn where the traumas come from.
Yeah.
Is it childhood trauma? Is it trauma from a marriage? Is it trauma from the military and combat? And there'll be times when you'll think this trauma is from something else and realize, no, it's actually from this. And then you can learn about those things, but if you don't sit down and actually have a conversation and build that toolbox, whether it's with you and your friends, or you and a therapist, you and your spouse, you've got to build those things up. And it's actually kind of cool with my wife that I have now. I still see my therapist here in Billings. And when she comes up here and I have a therapy appointment, she's there in my therapy appointment with me. And when I go down to Texas and she's got a therapy appointment, I'm in her therapy appointment with her. And it's not like me trying to take over hers or she's trying to take over mine, but there are great opportunities for us to actually hear from somebody else kind of what's going on that we haven't been able to catch and just have that check-in.
Yeah.
And it worked out great because leading up to this move, this move is pretty emotional for me. Other than the military, I've lived in Montana my whole life. And so this is a really, really big step. And so there was a lot of emotions that were bubbling up. And so when Kendra came up, it was about 3 weeks ago, I had a therapy session and she came and she was able to ask Andy, how can I help Chris? And Andy was able to explain it to her in a way that I never could. And now I just told my therapist's name out there, but that's okay. But he was able to explain it to her in a way that I couldn't get across to her, that helped her to understand how to best support me through this big change that we're going through. And it's, not just me, but my kids as well. They're going through the change. And so I think it's super important because it could have just kept evolving until all of a sudden I'm frustrated and we're yelling at each other. And that's not the way I want it to be. So we're going to find somebody that can help us no matter what it's going to look like. Because our marriage is important. Our lives are important enough to take that work and do it.
Yeah. It's definitely important to be able to talk to a person, to be able to connect with another person, to be able to have it. Because it's like the person and name that you named, I know so many people that see him.
Right.
The guy has great tight lips when it comes to it, but he's also able to explain it in a way that I feel like a lot of us don't know how to.
Right.
And kudos to him. Really kudos. He's been a blessing in my eyes, I will say.
Yes.
But also kudos to you, man, for actually being willing to open up that space for your wife. And her kudos for her opening up that space for you to be part of it. Because marriage, people think relationships are supposed to be easy. Like, no.
Right.
No, they're not. Because, like, the relationships you have with your soldiers, they were not easy. I know how many dudes I wanted to fight when I was with me. They're like, just we were about to go to blows. And at the same time, it's, you're not messing with him.
Right.
I'm going to fuck you up.
Right.
But the other thing is, it's like the same thing with the relationships, the people that we love. We're so much around them. We have so much more communication.
Right.
And it's not like we could just say, we're done. Like, we're taking a break, because we care too much, where they become not our emotional support human,
right,
but they become that part of us that is able to say, you know what, Chris, you're a little bit jacked up today.
Right.
And just like your daughter said, bad dad is coming out.
Right.
Like, when we're able to really trust somebody, we know that they're not trying to manipulate us. And that is so hard, especially when you're coming from a place of trauma, or I don't know how you felt about leaving the Army, but I know when I left the Marine Corps, I remember thinking in my head, like, and I wasn't able to phrase it, but I'm like, I'm shooting at people that I don't know. Never had a conversation with. They're shooting at me. They never had a conversation at me. We have both been told ways to think. And it became such a, that's what I said. It became this kind of cesspool of thinking. Remember Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Yeah.
I was so worried about people knowing about what I did, or Mr. Hyde's going to come out, and sort of avoiding people. Because it's like, if they thought the same way I thought, hold on a second, why are you shooting at Chris? You have no problem with him. Why is Chris shooting at you? I don't have the answers. And to say that I was just blind leading the blind, it also makes it hard.
Right.
So now I don't have the trust in people, because I believe that they're going to judge me.
Right.
Have you experienced that?
Absolutely. And this idea that, going back to our words, and words are incredibly important. Like, I thought of myself as a monster for a long time. But those words are important. If you continually tell yourself you're a monster, why are you doing this? People are going to look at you that way. Then absolutely, you're going to rewire that in your brain and rewrite it that this is who you are. And your subconscious brain only knows what's been told.
Yeah.
It can't ever operate outside of that space. And so if you consistently tell it those things over and over and over again, and I did that for a long time, then that's what your subconscious brain is only going to operate within that space. And so if you're constantly looking back and thinking about your deployments, thinking about combat, all these negative situations, the trauma's there, and it keeps popping up and rearing its ugly head and yelling at you over and over and over again, and you haven't found a way to kind of bring those things back, your subconscious brain is never going to get out of that cycle, or ever get out of that of trying to, one, keep you alive, and two, tear you down at the same time.
So keeping you alive, surviving. And my work I've been doing, I should remind people, I'm like, it's such a primitive thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to survive. We're trying just to make it. And if you hold up yourself in the house for 5 years, you know this is actually, this works.
Right.
But you also know that you stop living. You know you're just existing.
Right.
And are you willing to give up survival to start living?
Right.
And then what I believe is actually the biggest hurdle, or one of the biggest hurdles, is how do I actually now start new relationships, or allow relationships to develop when I said I was stuck here for years? How do I actually tell somebody, dude, I was hurt and I didn't know how to talk? What do you mean you don't know how to talk? All these all these dialogues, and it's just like, I don't know survival. It's just so much easier. So I think about, like, I talked about, I've had 2 suicide attempts. July 7th, 2014. That was that was on my ex-wife's birthday, and I knew that relationship was going to be over as soon as that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was January 14th, 21, and I knew that relationship. And I think about how I say I love these people, but I didn't know how to love them.
Right.
I didn't know how to show them affection. I didn't know how to say, you know what, I'm so sorry. Or how to even accept help. And that's why I usually don't ask people, like, how do they actually sit on the therapy, or how say, I understand that you've done a lot of soul searching.
Yes.
So that's why I figured, I was like, you know what, let me just ask some interesting questions.
Right.
So obviously you have had your living day, RPG, suicide attempts. You say you have had 2. Tell me about the group of guys. You don't have to say their names, but tell me what allowed you, the building process, to be vulnerable with a group of guys.
So I was over at Faith Chapel, and I started this veterans group, and it was me and 2 other guys. They're like, "Hey, we're a veteran. We should start a veterans group." And so we just started meeting right there in the cafe at the bottom of Faith Chapel. And then it grew a little bit more. And we had about 6 people. So then we started doing just like a book study. We're going to read a book, read a chapter a week, meet every week. And for the first couple of years, it was just it was very superficial. And I think that's where the majority of us as vets are. We keep those relationships superficial. And some of that stems from, when you're in combat and you lose somebody that you're super close with, you don't want to let somebody in that close because you can lose them too. And you don't want to go through that pain again. And so, again, your subconscious is protecting you and preventing you from really building a real, authentic relationship with someone. And so we just did that for almost 2.5 years. And then all of a sudden, I'm going through a divorce. And I hadn't seen my kids in a couple weeks, and I'm trying to go, and I was more or less the leader of the group at this point. So I would direct the conversations, make sure that it kind of flowed. And there were times when somebody would come and like, "Hey, I didn't read the book. I'm struggling with this." And we kind of worked through some of that, but nothing really that was deep until one day I was sitting down. I was like, "Guys, I know I'm supposed to lead this tonight, but I haven't read the chapter and I haven't told anyone, but this is what's going on." And I just laid it all out. Like, the kingdom that I thought I was building is completely gone. It's collapsed. I've got nothing left other than reading this book. And I don't know what to do. And like the group, like at that point, it came to a standstill. We didn't read the book anymore. I don't think we ever even actually finished that book because it was a year-long journey going through the divorce. And but I just got to the point where like I opened the floodgates to every dark part of my life, that this is what's going on and how terrible it is. And then there were times when something would happen, I'd get a message and I'd respond a certain way. And I was talking to one of the guys in the group, and he finally like just became that real person. He goes, "Chris, that was stupid." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He goes, "This is going to create these problems for you. You never should have done that." And now all of a sudden I had this real life check that I didn't have anywhere outside of the military. I mean, you get checked in the military all the time. I watched a guy come off the range with his rifle pointing the wrong direction towards the stands, and sergeants are tackling him to the ground, right? You got these real checks in the military that you typically don't have in real life, unless it's police in the cop car or something like that, which you never want anyone to get to that point. But to have some guy in your life that trusts you enough to say, "Chris, I think you're not doing this wrong, or you're doing this wrong. You're not doing this the appropriate way," and to be able to help stop whatever that trajectory was. And then, like, "Chris, what do you want to get at the end of this divorce? Like, what do you want? Do you want nothing but animosity? Do you want tension with your kids between the two houses? Like, because if that's what you want, that's the path this is going to set you on." And then give me the opportunity to actually reset and do things differently. And so that out of that group, and honestly, out of my pain and my misery and the stuff that I was going through, this level of authenticity between mainly the 5 guys that were there every single week, the same 5 guys, and we have some kind of floaters that would come and go. But these 5 guys, they're still the ones in that group that we talk to all the time. That level of openness is what finally opened the door for all of us. And we all now have the opportunity to start doing that. But it really started with one person deciding, "I'm going to be real and I'm going to be authentic." And I really didn't have a choice at that point. And because I had that group, because I had those guys, and I'm going through my divorce in 2019 and 2020, I never got to the point that suicide was ever an option. It's always kind of back there in the back because I've had 2 suicide attempts. Like it's always there as a potential option. And I think in my mind, suicide is a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances. It's a terrible decision, and it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Like we see that on memes and TikTok pages and everywhere on the internet. But it's very real. And so, while it was still back there as like, hey, this could be an option, it was never one that was ever looked at like, hey, tonight's the night. Because I could call one of the guys up and say, hey, I'm struggling, and they were there. When I had to refinance my house and I had a whole bunch of paint that was chipping off, and I can't get my VA loan to do all this stuff. Those guys were there with paint scrapers and chipping paint off my house and paint rollers and painting my house with me, getting it done in a day to make sure that I had that. And so there's a part too where you've got to put your pride and your ego aside. And that's absolutely what I had to do when I had to call them and say, guys, I got to pay my house and I can't do it alone. Like I had to put the pride aside to say I can't do it, and that's okay. That's why they're here. That's why you have the group, is so that they can come alongside you and help you. Because I don't know about you, but if anybody, even if I don't know them, anybody on the side of the street's like, hey, can you help me with this real quick? I'm more than like I'm gonna go help people. Like that's just who I am as a person. But I got to put the ego aside to say it's okay for others to help me. That doesn't make me less than. It does not make me a failure to need help from somebody else.
So Dale Carnegie, How to Influence People and Win Friends, he actually talked about the best way to be able to make a relationship is ask for help.
Right.
And I kind of wanted to get deep into one area where you said you're reading the Bible chapter a week. And you say, you know what? I haven't read the Bible, showed a little bit of vulnerability. But once you actually open that door with people that you have consistently spent time with,
right?
How did it feel to take that flat jacket off, metaphorically speaking? How did it actually feel to say, I'm hurting, and actually be embraced by other people,
right,
to be able to accept you instead of the kingdom, you said, or the king that you're envisioning inside that kingdom,
right,
to be able to say, yes, he's just a man. He's just a mere mortal, puts his pants on. How did that make you feel to be able to ask for help and then the way that you received?
It was like a pressure relief valve. I'm sure you felt it, and I feel it even now today. Like that stress, that anxiety, those things are happening, keeps coming left and right. Even like with my move that's happening right now, I'd fixed one thing in the house and 3 other things are breaking. It's like, I got to get my house back. I can't be fixing everything. It's like the tension, everything just starts building and building and building. Being able to sit down and say, hey, I'm struggling with this is almost like just a pressure relief valve that all of a sudden it's like you can deflate and look back and go, okay, it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be.
Yeah.
What can I do? Like this can wait and this can wait, but I can do this. And having somebody there to help you with that, it really helps you to just look at things again logically and be able to move forward without having feeling like it's building up inside of you. One of the things that my therapist had actually talked about is this false sense of urgency. You look at us in the military, you go outside the wire, you go do those things, and everything we train for, it's all life or death. It's all urgent. It's all insanely high level emotions. And so we've taken that and we still do it. We take it into our civilian life, that everything has that same level of urgency, and it doesn't matter what it is. It all has that same level of urgency. And so we build this false level of urgency into what we're doing. And then all of a sudden, every single thing that's on your plate that you have to do is all a number one priority thing. And there's no way you can accomplish all of them as a number one priority. So being able to release that valve, talk to somebody, all of a sudden that stuff goes to the places that it actually needs to be. And there are stuff that's not done in my house that I wanted to have done, and it's probably not going to be done for the next 6 months to a year. But that's okay, because it doesn't have to be done right now.
How does it actually feel also to have relationships with people that you could be in that dark spot with instead of a therapist?
That's a double-edged sword.
No, I agree with you.
But so with the therapist, the thing I like about the therapist is I'm going to get a tool.
Yeah.
I'm going to get something that I can put in my box that is going to help me next time around. With a friend, I still struggle, and I know it's wrong. I still struggle that I may be a burden to them. They're not going to know what to say, and so I'm putting them in an uncomfortable position. Now, I've learned through a lot of this process that that's not what I'm actually doing. They want to sit in that dark foxhole with me, just the same as you would want to sit in that foxhole with me, or anybody that you work with. You're going to sit in the foxhole with them.
Yeah.
So it's not a burden. So again, it's that false thinking, and so we've got to put that to the side. We're not being a burden. We're being human, and that's okay. But also from the other side, if outside of me, let's say somebody comes to me and wants me to sit in the dark hole, I don't have to have the answers. And so I need to make sure that I'm not expecting to get an answer from them or a solution from them, just that they're going to be there with me. So I don't have to be alone.
Have you saw that video of Brene Brown, empathy versus sympathy?
Oh, I think I saw it a long time ago. Yeah.
Empathy is the person that would get down there in the hole with them, and then sympathy is like, hey, how you doing down in the hole?
Right. Yeah, it sucks to be down there.
It sucks to be down there, but at the same time, it's just like, you know what? We're in the hole together.
Right.
That's all right.
Right.
This is cool. I've been here before, but let's just have this conversation.
Yeah, I know how to get out.
I do. Well, we have a shovel. We could dig our way out.
Right.
We could just start clawing at it.
Yeah.
What do you mean? We don't have to dig down? No.
Right.
Let's start getting out of this thing. What I realized too, and this is just my personal perspective, my buddies that hit me up. Like I have one friend of mine I'm just thinking about, and you should be giving me a call anytime soon. It's just roughly about the time period. And he'll call me up and he's drunk. He's drunk. He doesn't have the ability, he doesn't want to talk to somebody. He's actually in a high level role. He's worried about losing his high level role if he starts talking, being vulnerable. I love the guy. You know what actually makes me really feel good? Regardless of the fact that I like to be in sleep before 10 o'clock.
Right.
And he calls me up and I'm up the phone to midnight. He says that he knows that he has somebody to call. Because he's not looking for answers. And he's not looking for sorrow or pity. But he's looking for that way, that pressure relief valve. It's difficult when you get to these points in our lives where I'm 40 years old. How old are you?
37.
37. You get to these points in your life and you're just like, what's going on? And then you have these changes. Like, I think about our stories, similar but different. What great advice, or what advice do you have for people that are starting their mental health journey?
Don't sugarcoat it. Like be real with yourself. Be real with your friends. Be real with your therapist. And the reality is, if you can't be real with your friends, are they actually your friend? If you can share that you're struggling with this and they can't accept that and they can't be there with you and they've got to push you to the side and be like, I'm going to keep you a little bit further away now. They were never actually your friends. So like, be honest and open about those things too. That I really like this person. I thought he was my best friend, but it's obvious I'm not actually his friend. And then you find the people that are. And you don't need 10, 20, 30 people to be in your circle that help you. You only need 4 or 5 at the most. Any more than that, it gets to be a whole lot different. But 2, 3, 4 guys that can be there. Just be real, be honest. You go into a therapy session, if that's the path you're taking, is going to therapy. Be real with the therapist. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to pretend like it's not as bad as it really is. And that's what I actually enjoyed about my therapist that I see now. Because when I first sat down on the couch, I kind of sugarcoated it and said, yeah, well, this happened. And he grabbed a hold of that string and said, oh, well, then I bet you deal with this and this and this, and just pulled it out right there in that first session. And I was just a sobbing mess on his couch. Like, I don't know how you know this. This is ridiculous. Is somebody giving you information about my life? I was a little upset at first, but it really opened the door for me to just be like, no, here's the reality. Here's where I'm at. And then surround yourself with the people that are going to do that too.
Yeah.
Somebody say, hey, Chris, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Well, that doesn't sound like you're fine. Tell me what's actually happening. If they're going to actually dig into it with you and be like, no. You don't get to just play it off. I'm here for you and I'm going to be here for you. Let it out. Those are the people we need to surround ourselves with. And I don't want to do that to 10 people. I will never do that with 10 people. I will do it on a podcast because I know it's going to help people. But the people that are in my inner circle, they're going to get all the dirty, dark secrets. They're going to get every part of my life because then I can grow from there.
Like the specifics of the dark secrets, that's something that we don't always, that's not what we need.
Right.
What it is like, how was therapy for you when you first started? Oh, dude, I fucking faked the funk. Or how was it to be real with somebody, the honest opinion, like your honest thoughts, like hearing about it. And the reason I'm actually throwing these things out is, as a dude, we're not usually always taught or we emulate how our male role models are in our life. Like, you didn't have very positive male role models in the beginning, learning these habits of, you said, well, he's a little bit more physical. Hell, punching walls is a lot less than actually somebody punching me.
Right.
And then, well, I don't know how to communicate this with somebody because I don't want to burden them. Like, how many times have we heard other guys or gals that actually went through some shit? If I tell them this is going to be a burden, this is going to hurt them.
Right.
But we actually are taking away their own pain, or we're taking away their also free will and choice in our lives.
Right.
When I think about, when we talk about how opening up and saying, you know what, you said like suicide comes to your mind. Suicide comes to my mind at least once a day. Actually, that's a lot. It's becoming a lot less than once a day, thank God. But I'm like, what's up, bird?
Right.
You're just flying through.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, what else can I do right now? What else can I do? To me, my tool is, let me get a small win. When I get to that point, let me get a small win. Let me wash some dishes. Let me actually go take a shower. Let me actually wash my hands for like 5 minutes, which sounds over, but it's just getting a win. It's just getting a small win, because when I was in that deep dark hole, I didn't have small wins. I didn't have wins. I kept losing because I wasn't even trying. Do you do now on a daily habit that actually keeps you in the right headspace?
Starting off every single day meditating. And it's not like sitting there like with a book or like I'm meditating, but sitting there thinking about, and I'll even go back to the Army again because it drove me crazy and I hated it when they started resiliency training and they had this thing called Hunt the Good Stuff. And it drove me absolutely nuts. So I'd put, like, when we had to do it like once a month, I would write down on there like absolutely ridiculous things that like some NCO is going to read that and go, okay, yeah, this guy screwed up. But I just never took it seriously. And so, but now, like, rewiring my brain, thinking about those things, thinking about the wins. Now, I may have a day that's absolutely super dark, that the next day when I sit there and I meditate on what happened that day before, what's going to happen today, what I want my life to be like, rewiring all of those thought processes, I realize, well, this happened yesterday and that was good. And this happened yesterday, that was good. And then all of a sudden you have these little rays of light that are shining in the midst of that darkness. And you didn't need a therapist for it. You didn't need somebody to sit there in the foxhole with you. All it took was you taking a moment to reflect. Letting some of that stuff, the daily noise, just calm down, reflect on life. And as terrible as my childhood was, as terrible as some of the things in the military were, as terrible as my previous marriage was, I can look back at all of those different things and find things that I enjoyed and that were good. Even something like my stepfather. Yeah, it was not a great role model or an example. And I can't look at anything in his life to go, I want to emulate. But on the flip side of that coin, I can look at it and go, I want to make sure that I don't become this person. And so I can have a much better trajectory because I know what these are like. And I don't ever want to be like that. To people around me, to friends, to family, I don't want to be that person. In a sense, he's still a role model. Now you got some rays of light that are shining in it that he is helping me. Not in the way he ever intended or I ever would want, but he is helping me. And so if we can sit back and just shut everything off for a bit, and whether it's mowing the lawn, doing your dishes, you have this opportunity to just reflect on the things that are happening in life. Hunt those good things. And it will absolutely reset. Within a month, I promise you, it will reset the trajectory of your life. And like every single month or every single day, it will change the trajectory of your life.
There's actually been known to do gratitude journals and how that actually impacts the way that you see the world.
Yeah.
So the last question ask you is, what is the best piece of advice you can give to anybody that is listening, and or why did you decide to come on this podcast?
The biggest thing that I've started to do with my story is to share it more, because I have not once found a person in the last, I've been doing this for about 5 years now. I've not found a single person that has ever felt like I was a burden to them. I've never found a single person who ever looked down on me, who looked at me and said, "Oh, well, you had multiple suicide attempts. Like you must have sucked at life." Like not a single person that ever did that. So learn to put that away and start to be real, authentic with yourself and with those around you. And there are going to be people out there that don't like you already. So like, just put that as, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody has to want to be around you. So just kind of put that to the side, put your pride and your ego to the side, and just say, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I am. First time I went to the rifle range, I really struggled to zero my weapon. I could shoot. I couldn't figure out the front sight post. Like it made zero sense to me. And we didn't have tools. They handed me a nail and said, go zero your weapon. I don't know what I'm doing. I went through basic training. The drill sergeants had a tool, and they would do it for you. So one of the things I really learned was to put that to the side. I want to be better at firing my rifle, so show me how to do this. Make this work. But that didn't make me a failure. We can do the same thing in our real life. This is where I am. I want to be better. Find the people that are going to make that better. And I can't remember who said it, but I know it's a big thing out there that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Find those people that are smarter than you, that have more things figured out, that have the life that you want to work towards, and have them there to guide you and help you and mentor you, to build you up, to be able to say, that's the wrong decision, don't do that. And we can absolutely change the where you're going, but you have to start with where you are right now and be real, be open, be honest about that, and then move from there. And it's okay to be like, I've got absolutely nothing left. My journey started on my knees going, I have nothing. I don't have a house. I don't have a vehicle. I don't have my kids. They're with their mom. I have literally nothing left. And then build it from there. And that's okay. That doesn't make you less of a human. Start where you are and look at where you want to go.
Chris, I appreciate your time, man. And I know it's valuable. Damn, I really wish I was able to sit with you a lot sooner before you taking off, but it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this.